mundo y bienvenido a mi canal. Yo me llamo Sidey. Soy una abogada afro-latina licenciada practicando la ley criminal, pero como todos ustedes, a mí me fascina cuando estamos hablando de casos de crímenes reales. En este video vamos a hablar del caso. Bueno, espérate. Vamos a seguir hablando del caso de Donna Sue Adelson. Si quieren más video en español, nada más dime allá. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Desiree. I'm a licensed and practicing Afro-Latina criminal attorney who, much like the rest of you, has a severe fascination with true crime cases. Listen, let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Did you guys miss me? I missed you. I missed you guys so much, my heaven-sent angels. And before I disappear again, I'll give you guys an explanation. I try really hard not to make these videos about me and my personal life, but just since I was gone for, I guess, in my mind, an extended period of time and I left you guys hanging, I just want to let you know it's because I was moving. The scenario, the background, the scenery, everything should look a little bit different to you guys. Just a smidge, because I don't have the new place fully set up. But I didn't want to leave you guys hanging any more. I want to talk to you guys about the case that keeps on giving. It's probably the favorite case of this channel. We're going to talk about the sentencing. Donna Adelson. When we left off, Donna had just been convicted, and then she had filed her motion to the court requesting a new trial. So I'm going to instill it in you guys, but I'm sure my bright little smart cookies, you're already aware. First-degree intentional murder already comes with a mandatory life sentence, okay? So this sentencing, as I've told you guys numerous times before, is more so for the family of the victims to be heard if they choose. For Donna and her defense team to give any statements or have any witnesses appear on her behalf should they choose. And for the court to determine what sentence is appropriate as to the remaining charges that Donna was convicted of. Specifically, that is the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and the solicitation charge.
We, the jury, find as follows as to count one of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself. Count two. We, the jury, find as follows as to count two of the indictment. Conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count three. We, the jury, find as follows as to count three of the indictment. Solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder. And it is signed and dated by the foreperson.
But without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? You know, I'm having a little bit of fun today because I've noticed a lot of times you guys are like, oh, why is she talking with her hands so much? She wants us to see her nails are done. I just talk with my hands, okay? And if that's a problem, just click off, log off, good night. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a hand talker. And on top of that, I've done it in courtrooms. I've done it in front of judges. I've done it in front of state judges. I've done it in front of municipal judges. I've done it in front of federal judges. No one cares but you. So relax, lighten up, relax. But anyway, let's carry on. When we commenced Donna Sue Adelson's sentencing, her attorney, the disgraced former judge Jackie Fulford, was offering objections to the PSI on behalf of the defense team.
A panel finds that Judge Jackie Fulford is incapable of performing her duties as a circuit court judge. Now, according to court documents, they're recommending she retire because of a permanent disability that they say seriously interferes with the performance of her job. Now, the judge has been on medical leave since April of this year to be treated for the disability. This does not appear to be related to a notice of formal charges filed against Fulford back in April. Those charges claim that she showed a pattern of misconduct, including telling court employees that they could not work for her if they voted for Charlie Creel.
Have the parties received their copies of the pre-sentence investigation report?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Judge.
Are there any objections that either party wishes to make to the pre-sentence investigation report?
No, sir. There are corrections that would need to be made, Judge.
What are the corrections?
Would you like me to stay in here or go on?
It's in there.
On page 1, they have the date of arrest as November 20th, 2023. And she was actually arrested on November the 13th of 2023.
I will notate Ms. Kappelman, is there any
No.
challenge to those?
No, sir.
I will notate the copy then that will be filed with the clerk as November 13th of 2023. Go ahead.
On page number 5, there are several.
I'm going to say it again because I want it to marinate in your minds. But a PSI is a pre-sentence investigation or a pre-sentence report, sometimes referred to as a PSR. In essence, it's just an interview that a probation officer will have with the defendant should a conviction take place. What's important to note is that a PSI or a PSR does not only happen if the conviction takes place by jury. So meaning, if the defendant chooses to plead guilty, a PSI or a PSR can still occur. All that to say, when a PSI or PSR occurs, each side will have the opportunity to submit any additions, corrections, or objections on behalf of their respective parties, defense or prosecution. Here, Jackie is letting the court know, Judge, I do take issue with some of the things as written in the PSI, and I'm going to tell you about them. Following Jackie Fulford's arguments to the court, our favorite prosecutor, Miss Georgia Kappelman, decided that she was going to ask the court for the cost of prosecution. As you guys know, I'm not licensed in Florida, but I did a little bit of digging and a little bit of research. So let's get into what exactly she's asking of the court. Florida Revised Statute 938.27 addresses judgments for cost of prosecution and investigation. Section 1. In all criminal and violation of probation or community control cases, convicted persons are liable for payment of the costs of prosecution, including investigative costs incurred by law enforcement agencies, by fire departments for arson investigations, and by investigations of the Department of Financial Services or the Office of Financial Regulation of the Financial Services Commission, if requested by such agencies. The court shall include these costs in every judgment rendered against the convicted person. For purposes of this section, convicted means a determination of guilt or a violation of probation or community control, which is a result of a plea, trial, or violation proceeding, regardless of whether adjudication is withheld. 2A. The court shall impose the costs of prosecution and investigation, notwithstanding the defendant's present ability to pay. The court shall require the defendant to pay the costs within a specified period or pursuant to a payment plan under a certain subsection. So now let's just talk about it, and let's just talk about what that means. It means if the state expends numerous resources to prosecute this individual, the individual will be liable for the cost of said prosecution should they be convicted. This was a years-long investigation. Remember, they had to do the bump. They were doing certain investigations. They were stalking, for lack of a better term, Donna and her family in order to get information. They were going out and finding them. They were bugging their devices. They were doing a lot. So do I think that it is valid that the prosecution in this case is requesting the cost of prosecution? Yeah. But on top of that, the statute we just read says it's a requirement. It'll happen. So that's nothing to alarm yourselves with. But let's carry on. After requesting the cost of prosecution, Georgia gave her argument on behalf of the state, and her argument was just chef's kiss.
The state is requesting, you ready for me to argue what I want for sentence? Okay.
Go ahead.
Obviously life on count 1, Judge, we would ask for 30 years consecutive to count 1 on count 2 and 30 years concurrent to count 2, but also consecutive to count 1 on count 3. I do not have any additional testimony or other evidence to provide, Your Honor.
So why do I say that Georgia's argument was just chef's kiss? I think that there's a lot of power in brevity. In a lot of circumstances, you don't have to say a lot unless it's necessary. What did I just tell you? First degree intentional murder, she's already doing life. Okay? So Georgia's just like, here's what I want with regard to the other counts. That's it. That's all I got, Judge. Thank you. And that's how you do it. There are certain circumstances when I walk into a courtroom and I'll see opposing counsel argue and argue and argue and argue and argue. And it's specifically after the court will look at both of us and be like, I've already read your sentencing submission. Is there anything else? And then they'll argue and say the same thing over again. And it's 20 and 30 minutes of us listening and listening when we've already read it. Me personally, I think you lose your power when you do that. I will add to my argument if it is something that's not already there, but otherwise there's no need to say much. And I think Georgia did it phenomenally. But let's carry on. After Georgia's sentencing recommendation, defense had numerous people speak on behalf of Donna to testify that she was such a good person. They'd known her for years, decades, and she would never, and just a bunch of stuff, you know? But we're not going to talk about all of that because I don't think it's necessary. But what I do want to talk to you guys about is the statement made by Donna's husband, Harvey, and the statement made by Donna herself.
Dr. Adelson, please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
You can lower your hand. You may speak.
Thank you, Judge, and respected officers of the court for allowing me to speak. I have been Donna Adelson's husband for over 50 years. My wife sacrificed everything so that she could pour her heart and soul into our children, our grandchildren, and our marriage. This summer was our 54th wedding anniversary, and I had to spend it without her, hand in mind. She has done nothing wrong, and yet is being punished for a crime that she did not commit. I thought we lived in a different kind of world, but I guess I was wrong. I have listened, watched, and sat in the courtroom for the entire trial, and I could not help but scream in my mind by the witnesses that were brought forward by the prosecution who told outright lies. I didn't know that you could lie in a courtroom, but apparently you can. Danny's parents contend that they have never seen their grandchild. But for years they say they've never seen her. But Wendy has shared with me pictures and videos and letters from their visits. They have suffered immensely at the loss of their son, but they also contend to tell lies to the court about our grandchildren. Donna has always been a loving and caring wife and is innocent of the charges. A biased judge and jury were influenced by years of one-sided news pieces and social media.
Doctor, Ms. Fulford, this has nothing to do with the character of the defendant or at least the sentencing.
May I have just one moment, please?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you for letting me continue. Donna did not participate in the heinous acts that she was convicted of doing. You are sending an innocent woman to prison. You have taken my wife and you have taken my life as well. And for what? This is not justice. It is vengeance, and it is wrong.
Harvey Adelson has a lot of audacity. I think that's the best way I'm gonna say it. He has a lot of audacity because Judge Everett is not playing with nobody in that courtroom, okay? So for him to get up there and just be like, this was a biased judge, this was a biased prosecutor, everyone here is biased, they reached the wrong result, and my wife couldn't have done this, is just insane. And the fact that she would have the audacity to say that to the judge's face is just weird to me. I don't think you guys are going to like what I'm going to say next, but I say it in pretty much every case that we discuss. I stand by the fact that because someone is convicted of something that's absolutely unthinkable, it doesn't mean that their family members are just going to betray them and stop loving them. Do I think that Harvey had something to do with this? You know, I don't know. I think at that point, only time will tell. I find it a little bit hard to believe that Donna Sue was doing all of this and he didn't know anything at all. But I don't think there's really any evidence that points to him. Otherwise, he probably would have been charged at this point. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think about Harvey's statement down below. Now, before we get into Donna's statement and what specifically Donna said, she, via her attorneys, asked the court if she can make an unsworn statement.
We don't have any further witnesses, Judge, but Mrs. Adelson has decided she would like to make an unsworn statement to the court.
Unsworn?
Yes, Judge.
All of the witnesses will be sworn this afternoon if she wishes to speak.
Judge, case law indicates, confirms that the defendant has the right to make an unsworn statement prior to sentencing. The court, Rule 3.720B states the court shall entertain submissions and evidence by the parties that are relevant to the sentence. A number of cases, Your Honor, that have interpreted this, especially in a capital case, as the defendant having a right to make an unsworn statement.
We haven't necessarily talked about unsworn statements on this channel because it's never really come up, especially not in a context like this. But basically what she's asking of the court is, Judge, I want to make my statement, but I don't want it to be under oath. So no penalty of perjury, no repercussions for me. I just want to speak my truth to the court, is what she's asking of the judge. The court determined, after review of case law provided by defense, that Donna was entitled to do that. And so she made her statement.
Seeing in the case where it does state the defendant has a right to make an unsworn statement, we will proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It is interesting how the state can't make up its mind about who is what they call the, quote, mastermind behind this murder. In both of Catherine Magbanaw's trials, the state claimed she was the mastermind behind Danny's murder. In my son Charlie Adelson's trial, they claimed he was the mastermind. And now in my trial, they claimed that I, this grandma, was the mastermind behind the murder. With not one iota of actual evidence, the state convinced a Tallahassee jury that I solicited and conspired with other people to have Danny killed. Where is the evidence prior to the murder? The evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the state needed to prove their case. Where is the evidence before July 18th, 2014 at 10:50 in the morning?
Before you continue,
That
Mrs.
revealed-
Adelson, as it relates to this statement, is the defense trying to re-argue the trial?
No, Judge, just giving Mrs. Adelson an opportunity to be heard.
Mrs. Adelson, you certainly can continue. However, the court can take into consideration the utter lack of remorse that you are displaying. Please proceed if you desire to do so.
Many months ago, my attorneys filed a motion for a change of venue. An expert witness testified that Tallahassee had been barraged with over 9 years of negative social media, printed news, television news, and podcast publicity about my family. He explained to the court, both with evidence and demonstratives, that for me to receive a fair trial, it needed to be held in any of the researched and designated areas in the state of Florida other than Tallahassee. All I wanted was a level playing field, but the court wanted the trial here in the hotbed of Tallahassee. I sat through 3 days of jury selection. 180 potential jurors were asked if they had developed an opinion in my case. Those that answered yes also added, I believe she is guilty. Not one person, not one, said, I think she may be innocent. That should have been a clue to the court to grant our motion for a change of venue, but the court denied the motion. One of my jurors admitted during jury selection that she had background information concerning what one of the state's witnesses would be testifying about. Why was she allowed to be on my jury?
What moment?
Another juror?
Mrs. Fulford,
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Mr. Zellman, again, this has nothing to do with elocution of any sort. This is a raising of grievances which are properly given to the appellate court. What does any of this have to do with sentencing?
Grab just one moment, please.
What happened to Danny is unforgivable. But I am an innocent woman convicted of this terrible crime without evidence. Danny was a brilliant legal scholar. He would have been appalled at the total lack of justice that went on during my trial. He would have been embarrassed to have his name associated with any of it. There are two crimes here. The first was Danny being viciously murdered. The second one is taking my life, the life of an innocent woman. Convicting me should not be retribution for Danny's death. That is not justice for Dan. I've always respected the law. I've never gotten a parking ticket, but I'm going to prison for a murder I did not commit. I do intend to file an appeal so that hopefully I have the opportunity to be given a fair trial outside of Tallahassee.
Donna's statement showed a lack of empathy, a lack of remorse, a lack of accountability, a lack of any sort of human decency. But is that something that I'm surprised by? No. It is unfortunate that Dan Markell lost his life in such tragic, disrespectful, disgusting, and unthinkable circumstances. It's absolutely tragic. But do I think that Donna really cares? Honestly, no. I think all she cares about is herself. She's pathetic. But even while she was speaking, the court admonished her. Judge Everett was stern. But again, he was fair. He was fair. So I don't know, showing him this level of disrespect at every twist and turn you can possibly think of just seems unnecessary. And after Donna spoke, and after hearing from all parties, the court delivered Donna's sentence.
On count one of the indictment for first-degree murder, you are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or release, pursuant to sections 782.04 and 775.082 sub 1 sub A Florida statutes. On count two of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, you are hereby sentenced to 30 years in the Department of Corrections that will run consecutive to count one. The court will also sentence you to 30 years in the Department of Corrections on count three. Counts 2 and 3 are to run concurrent with each other, but consecutive to count one.
So there you have it. Donna was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole on the first-degree murder charge, plus an additional 30 years as to the other charges to be run consecutively. We've talked about this before, the difference between consecutive and concurrent. But in essence, consecutive just means she'll do life plus 30 years. So like she's never getting out in this lifetime. The woman's already 76, I think, 77. Donna's case is one that I like to share and discuss with you guys because it's just so interesting, but it's also so ridiculously tragic. Donna, Harvey, the Adelsons as a whole were such a powerful and dynamic family. So why would you want to become enmeshed in this ghetto, low vibrational, low budget nonsense? Who the heck goes to school for all these years, gets all these degrees, does all these things, becomes a person of prestige and all of that to throw it all away by killing someone? Their story is intense. I like to call this story that keeps on giving because, again, hopefully we will see Wendy be charged here very soon. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for your patience with me. I'm sorry that I was missing for the last week or so, but I've been moving. I hope you guys forgive me. That is all. Please let me know your thoughts down below. As always, Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, y'all take care.